All right, everybody, we are back with another episode of the Hail Call. I'm joined this week with Matt, Teddy, and Mr. Cory Nickum. How are we all doing today, boys? Staying cool?
Staying cool.
Staying chilly? I got a
Think
blanket on. It's freezing here in Minnesota. Finally below
think
90.
think about 10 more degrees and we'd have a nice day.
Yeah, it's been
100
hot.
and,
It's summer.
107 was the real feel.
It's summertime. It's this way every year. What do we do?
Yeah, it's the first day of summer, isn't it?
No, that was
Yeah,
last
or a
Friday.
couple days ago. Days are getting shorter already. Means we're on the home stretch to fall
I guess,
at
yeah,
some
we hit the
point,
turning
right?
point.
Yeah. So, nowhere to go but up. Cory, you were just at a contest this past weekend, right?
Yeah, up there in North Bend, Nebraska.
Oh,
Nipperkachek's deal.
and they've had that contest in Nebraska. Is this like a continuation of the contest that used to be like in Omaha?
Yeah, I I
They,
believe so
they
because I
used to kind of
remember.
be at a Shields, and now I think
Well,
they kind of quit that, and then now they moved it to like a separate event.
yeah, I mean before Shields, they used to have it at like a convention hall. I mean, 20 something years ago when I won the Cornhusker Regional, it was held in like right outside of Omaha, and then for years there was there, and then they moved it, and then it went to Shields, whatever, and now Nick has taken it over in the town of North Bend, which is kind of like their old settlers days, I guess. They have like a car show, they have a beer garden across town with some like crafts, and then they have like the waterfowl side on the north side of town. But yeah,
So,
this is my second year. But yeah, this is I think their third year they've had it there. Nick's had it there, I think.
okay.
But yeah, it was a fun time. I mean, it was windier and shit, but I'll tell you, I mean, I've judged a lot of contests over the last few years, especially regionals, and they had 12 callers in the first regional, and I think like 9 or 10 in the second one, which I mean, it's kind of crazy to say this, but that was a
That's
shit
pretty
ton of
good
callers. That's a shit ton of callers for a regional,
in
especially
Nebraska.
in the middle of the summertime in Nebraska. I mean,
Yeah.
middle of June or whatever, but end of June. But yeah, I mean, it was a cool thing, for them to hear them come back and tell the judges that there was, 12 of them in the first one. I was like, holy shit. Like,
Hmm.
a long time ago, they'd be like, all right, we got 47 or we got 56, which is in the norm. But now when they say double digits, you're like, God dang, that's quite a bit. But yeah,
Yeah.
Damn. So how far of a drive was that for you?
for me, I just did a day trip. It was literally like 3.5 hours.
Oh, it's not far at all.
No, one highway up, one highway west, pulled off the highway, pulled in, judged two of them, and competed in one. Turned around, came home, and I made it back and watched the last 5 innings of Coastal Carolina and LSU.
That was wild. The coach got 30.
Yeah, the first inning. I mean, I can't get into that right now because I'm aggravated still. But God dang it, man, that drove me crazy. But yeah, it's literally 3.5 hours. It was nothing. Prokachek and I have been buddies for a long time, and he asked me earlier during turkey season if I'd come up for his contest, and I went up last year, and I said, "Yeah, dude, it's just a 1 day trip." So,
Who
you
won?
know, the first regional, which I can't remember if they even call it the Cornhusker Regional still. I don't know. I honestly don't remember, but Kyle Dennis won the first regional, and then Nick Prokachek took second, and then the Nebraska State was Nick Prokachek, and then the third regional, I'm gonna butcher the name of him, but I want to say his name was Jake. He's a good kid. I'm terrible with names, but we've talked in the past, and he guides up in Canada and guides in Oklahoma, and he won the Nebraska State last year when I was there. His dad's super cool, super nice dude. But yeah, he's a local guy from up there.
Mhm.
He's got a lot of potential. He's sounds really strong. And so yeah, Kyle and Nick, and then Jake, the kid that won the last one.
Hell yeah. And then how'd you do in the contest?
Yeah, shit the bed. Took second. And Chandler Martin won the meat contest. There was 8 or 9 of us in there. Yeah. Me and Chandler took first and second. Well, Chandler took first. I took second. I won it last year. Took second this year, but yeah, that's
Where
what
is
it is.
Chandler Martin from? Isn't he from Tennessee?
I think he lives in Kentucky. I think.
Kentucky?
Yeah. Hell, I could be wrong.
My God, that's a pull for a contest.
Oh, that's a clip. He blew in the. I mean, I think he's been qualified before in the past at Worlds, for Worlds. He
Yeah.
blew in the first regional, and then I sent him a message on Snapchat. I said, "Are you here for the second one?" Because Chance Wadsworth drove down, or drove over, down, whatever, and he blew in the meet and took third or fourth, and I think he blew in the first regional, and then he went home. But I can't imagine that's a short ass drive either. I don't know. I mean, props to him. I mean, like I said, Chandler drove and won the meet, took home $1,000, and but yeah, he kind of left after the first regional and I guess got a head start on the way home or something. I don't know, but there's another qualifier to try to get his ticket for Worlds, but he said he
Yeah.
got on the
I mean, if
road.
you're going to drive all that way and you don't win the first one,
You might as well just throw your money up in the air and blow in the second one. I mean, who cares? You're there.
Yeah. I mean,
It is what it is.
well,
But yeah, overall, it's a good time. Nick does a good job. His dad does a good job. His dad built a pretty badass trophy, I think for the Nebraska State contest, and kind of did like a Stanley Cup deal where they'll put their names, tags on them, kind of deal.
yeah, that's awesome.
They had food trucks. Foils was there. A bunch of other vendors. I mean, there's probably 12 vendors there at that deal. It was just so goddamn hot. The fucking wind was blowing 100 mile an hour. But yeah, outside of that, it was a good time.
Mm.
It was indoors, so that was also key. That was plus.
God, if you're driving 3.5 hours could get me into 3 different states. So, that's
Yeah, I went through Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska.
yeah. That's wild, man. I just remember back in the day, like, August, you're talking if I drove 6 hours, I'm going to a contest in like 8 different states and they had one every weekend.
Yeah, I was talking to Bill about the podcast that y'all did, and like getting guys to go to his contest, which is coming up in a few weeks or whatever. And so, like, for me and my brother, being fortunate, starting contest calling back then with my old man taking us, or my mom taking us for that matter, like living in the central part. I mean, we could really go, we could probably compete in like 16 different contests back then and drive no less than 8 hours.
Yeah.
Like, we were just fortunate, to get into the calling contest world, living, growing up here and having everything just all amongst it. And so that also, helps a lot, with the exception of some people that, don't have that capability, like guys in the Pacific Northwest or like you guys on the East Coast. I mean, you guys used to have a bunch of contests and, you guys are still having some, but not like what you guys used to have. And so you still got to travel a lot. I mean, a lot of guys went to that Montana deal that I think Elkinski went out there. I mean,
yeah,
some bitch flew across the United States. I mean, basically from one end to the other. I mean, props to him and his parents for doing that. But I mean, yeah, it was extremely, easier for us to compete and get on more stages living here growing up, to have all the contests around us. I mean, with the exception of driving to Michigan, which was like 12 hours for 4 chances to get qualified, everything else was 8 hours and under. And so going to 13 to 16 contests a year was nothing back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why we're doing those backyard contests.
I seen that deal. Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole thing. So for anybody who's listening who is curious, because I've gotten a few phone calls and questions, these backyard contests, like I rented out a pavilion at the local state park for $50. And I'm going to invite a bunch of people. We'll have probably some beverages, waters are included. And then what we're going to do is randomly draw who's going to score and who's going to judge, and just like it's all about stage time, right? Like
Yeah.
there's not going to be any prizes, not going to be any plaques, and the entry fees will be decided right there between whoever shows up that day.
Mhm.
Like just for simple, like, hey man, let's just get together and blow some duck calls in a contest and get some stage.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be fun as shit.
I mean, I hope so. And then, we're talking about trying to have a bigger contest down towards the end of October after we get through Green Top, but we'll see how that goes. Trying to put all that together. I'm really not trying to get into the contest organizing game again. So
You do such a
Yeah.
good job, though.
Yeah.
thanks, Mike.
I'll tell you what, I mean,
just don't want to.
this contest is over with. In the end of May, Bobby had that one in Kansas City, or shit, Wellsville, Kansas. It's right down the road from here. And they did a great job, for him organizing it at the call shop and having like a lunch break, and he served people food, and like he got all these custom calls that he did and engraved for all the guys that judged.
Mhm.
I was unaware of any of that. I stepped back, and yeah, I did not volunteer to judge any contest, especially the ones that my dad were judging and my brother was competed in. I did not want any of that drama to be held, so I just sat in the crowd and watched. But yeah, Bobby took a lot of time and effort, to gift the judges that came, from Iowa, and we had some guys from Illinois, the Boot Hill, Missouri, Southeast Kansas, a couple from Oklahoma. But yeah, he did a great job of, providing gifts for the judges, for taking their time away, and then, had the decoys for the prizes, the custom made ones from Cedar Run. And so those are pretty legit that he had done. But yeah, he did a great job of that. But he was like, it's a lot of effing work. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
it's not like I want to have a contest. It's going to be easy. Let's just run it. I'm like,
Yeah.
you have to do
Oh,
everything.
as soon as you start
there's,
putting in money and
yeah,
like prizes and judging and all of that shit, that's where everything gets complicated.
yep,
Mhm.
Right now, all I've got to do is worry about who's going to build the timer and the light for, these backyard contests. And I'm not paying out shit. You know what I mean? Like your prize is stage time. Like that's it.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
we'll see who
Well,
shows.
even now, I mean, like contest calling in general, it's not even about the money anymore, because we've talked about this forever. They could have a $10,000 contest, and you're still going to lack in contestants.
Yep.
I
It's
mean, it's
tough.
just it's the most damnedest, craziest shit ever. Because I mean, back then, $750 novice first place would be like 35 guys and blowing a Main Street routine, and $1,000 regional would have 45 to 55 guys.
Hmm.
And you have a contest that pays $5,000 or 2,500 or whatever the other what Die Bomb paid out. I mean, it's just it doesn't matter about the money anymore.
Do you think that, like, Rogers always used to do payouts like through 10th or through like 8th place? I think they cut back one year. They used to go top 10, your 6th through 10th place got $500, where at least if you were there, it kind of paid for your trip, right? Do you think that contests would be better off? Say you had a contest that was able to pay out 5,000. Do you think they would be better off to pay out 2,500 for first and trickle that down, trickle out, even if it's $100? I think like even Presley's used to do like top 8. If you were 5th through 8th, I think you got $100, like in some of their opens or their meets.
Well, it depends on how many callers show up to the contest. I mean, if you're going to pay
Right.
out the top 10 and then you've got 9 people show up,
Right. Also true.
you know what I mean? But like,
Well, go ahead.
I think there is something to that where when Rogers paid out, what was it, $250 or $500 to 10th
Hmm.
place? I went out there knowing, okay, I'm pretty sure I could get top 10. If I get top 10, then at least I've got my plane ticket covered and it's going to be a good time. You
Right.
know, that kind of convinces some people further away to be like, all right, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
does it motivate people to actually get up on stage when they've never competed before? I don't know.
Right.
I would say yes.
I think it does.
I'm going to tell you because me and Robbie Iverson had this conversation a couple weeks back, maybe a week ago, whatever. You know, these guys advertise like $25,000 in cash and prizes, and they want to make this big first place package, whether it's $5,000 or 7,500, whatever. That's unbelievable. Props to them for doing it, right? Like that's badass to get that kind of money to fork over for first place. But then second place, say you have 7,500, and then second place gets 1,500. That's a big ass chunk difference, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, point or 5 points, whatever. That's a big chunk that you're missing out on.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Robbie both agree to where you take that 7,500 and just sprinkle it all the way down to where you have, 5,000 for first, you get 3,000 for second, 25. I mean, just like how Rogers used to do. And yeah, Mike, I mean, Presley's, the first couple years when I went out there, then won, I think like 6th, 7th, and 8th got like $150.
Yep.
So you go up to a registration booth and you pay your $50 and they have the, the payouts, and you look at it like, okay, there's 14 of us or whatever in this meat contest. They're paying top 8. I feel I could get some money and my name be called in the final round, which majority of us want anyways when we're contest calling. That way they feel like they have more of a drive to compete and give a chance instead of saying, okay, there's 9 of us. I got Robbie Iverson, Hunter Grounds, Mike Benjamin, and Kyle Jones in an open goose. They're only paying top 3. Why the shit would I spend $60? Nowadays, why would I spend $60 to compete in a goose contest?
Yeah, I mean, I can get behind that.
I mean, I'm just saying, man. I mean, it's not like, I mean, and Mike, you made a point the other night when you and I were talking, and yeah, it's always nice to take home one of these big checks or a check in general, but the contest calling is not meant to make a living. It's not it's not a money game. And if you're doing it, and I'm taking your line, Mike, but if you're doing it for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Right. Me, I'm stubborn as shit and I'm too goddamn competitive. Hence, that's why I sat on this couch a year ago in August and said I wouldn't compete no more.
Retirement.
And I've competed in 4 goddamn contests this season. 1, 2, took second and 2. It's just the competitiveness in me. Like, this is all I've done since 1998, 99. I truly love competing. Now, do I hate losing? Yeah, I hate losing with the best of them. I cannot stand losing. It gets under my skin. I don't go because of the fact, okay, they're going to pay $5,000. I'm going to go to that one, but this one is only paying 500 and it's 10 hours closer. Like, I'm not going to go to that $5,000 one. I'm going to go to the one closer because I can still compete and get on stage. It is nice to collect a check. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It is. But this is not it's not a career you're going to make.
Well, I think, and my whole statement to that, like, and some people might look at it differently. Like, I've always told myself, like, when this becomes about like a need for money, I need to go to this contest because I need to try to win $5,000. Like, that's changing how I'm looking at contest calling. Now I'm putting too much pressure on it.
You're putting too much pressure
because
on
if all of a sudden I go there, it's
3
like
guys that score high.
Well, it's like, man, I really need this. It's like people that are totally broke that spend every penny they have on lottery tickets and scratch offs. That's the majority. That's because they're just looking for an easy break. Yep. Like even if you're really good, I mean, obviously if you're really good, you're going to go to a contest and be like, hey, I have an opportunity to win a lot of money. But I mean, I don't want to go to a contest. And to be honest, I probably did it the last year I was at Worlds. I was like, man, I really want to go on a moose hunt. And I was talking to this guy at my work, and he's like, I got this guy. He's like, I have connections. He's like, you can go on a moose hunt in Ontario for like $3,500. And I was like, well, shit, that's like pretty cheap. Like I mean,
That's two contests,
you're going to
Mike.
pay 10 times that to go to Alaska. But then I was like, well, what is the success rate in Ontario? I was like, do they have good bulls? Anyways, he's like,
Right.
oh yeah. He's like, I've shot 8 of them up there in the last 15 years that I've gone. He's like, and I've always had opportunities. He's like, there's a pretty high odds. There's a lot of moose there. You probably could get one. I'm like, well, I can justify spending, say, $6,000 total to go on this moose hunt versus 30,000 plus to go to Alaska and try to hunt one, and the odds of getting one there are low. So I was like, yeah, if I go to the Worlds, I was like, I've been doing pretty well here the last few years. There was a lot of pressure, right? I was a two-time champion in pretty much every single contest. I just had to win one more, right? I was like, oh, man, I want to go out there. I want to win the World Open. I want to win a World Live Goose. I want to win the World Live Duck. Then I can be retired from all these. And then that's, what a perfect time to make my exit, right? To just
Right.
kind of brush off, wash your hands of contest calling and then just go and judge. But I got there, and then it was like, man, everything that I had set out to do didn't really go the direction I wanted to at all. Got cut in every contest that I wanted to do well in. And it was just like not that I felt that much pressure, but it like mentally there was like a little bit of pressure, because it's like, man, I would kind of like to win some money here to go on this hunt. And I've never looked at calling that way, where it's like, I need to go here. I need to try to win $5,000 between the 3 contests I'm competing in, so I can pay my rent, so I can pay for a car loan, so I can pay my bills. Like, if that's what it's come down to, I need to find a different job. I need to find because I'm not, like, let's not look at calling that way. This is a hobby. When you start when you start turning your hobby into, I need this hobby to make a living so I can afford to survive, that's, in my opinion, that's just not cool. Then you need to change your focus somewhere else, right?
Correct. No, I agree. I mean, it definitely. I mean, yeah.
Teddy, what are your thoughts? You kind of are making some faces.
I mean, I don't necessarily want to downplay not turning a hobby into a career, because a lot of people try to turn their hobby into a career.
Right.
But this is not, like, contest calling is never going to be a hobby that turns into a career. There's too many other outside factors. There's too much other, variables that go into you winning a contest, let alone having contest calling, being able to pay your bills. That's personally not going to happen. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like what's best case scenario, right? You're in the peak of contest calling, say 2000, and we'll say like 2010 to
Hunter Grounds,
2015.
I think Hunter Grounds in 1 year made the most money blowing a goose call, and I think it was like 55 grand.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Like, you go to Rogers and say, like Trevor had some years where he won the Open Goose and the Open Duck at Rogers. So it's like, okay, there's $6,000 and maybe you win $1,000. You have a $7,000 weekend. Now you go to Presley's, say you win every contest there. You're taking home another $3,000. Now you're at $10,000. I mean, realistically, if you won every single contest, could you have that be a living? Yeah, if you won every contest and you travel to every high-paying contest, maybe you make 40,000 in cash and prizes. It's not all just 40,000 cash, right? And then maybe, if you went to Worlds and swept everything, you're still, I mean, arguably not making enough to.
You're not making minimum wage.
No.
Over the course of the year. I mean, I mean, if you won everything, you have a $50,000 contest here. Now you also have to remember you have to pay taxes on that. That's not cash in your pocket.
Yeah.
45%.
I was going to say you're paying 30+% in tax on that.
Mhm.
I think the best year I ever had, I mean, I'm just a damn duck caller, but I think the best year I ever had, I won 14 or 15 contests, and I think I won like a shy under 20 grand. But you take away entry fees, expenses. I mean,
right.
it's not a career that you can do.
And that's absolute best
It's a
case scenario.
hobby.
That's
Yeah.
you are
Hobby that you can
at,
get like a hobby that
You can cash a check in on, 6 minutes of work.
right. Yeah.
And, but that's what, 20, 30, 40, say $50,000. That's your ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're not going above that.
I don't want to compare this to somebody starting a hobby in woodworking and then all of a sudden they're
Yeah.
an
You got a damn business in downtown Kansas City slinging money and you're making six figures. I mean,
exactly. This is not we're not talking about that, right? But I mean,
there's no ceiling on that.
I want to go back to what you guys said about paying out to the top 10, and it got my mind working. And like, if you look at some of the other individual sports, a lot of these individual sports pay out to 50% of the field. And
golf being one.
that's the only one I thought of. So
yeah,
I mean,
I think in fishing,
well,
I think
fishing, you got to fish. You got to make Sunday, but I mean, you can still cash checks in fishing for like big bass, or if you make the cut, you can still get some money. But you got to fish Sunday. To be my honest opinion, like I think you got to fish Sunday to cash a healthy check. When you're cashing six figures, golf. I mean, Teddy knows more about it than I do, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people that golf on Saturday are cashing checks when they get cut going into Sunday.
If you make the weekend, you get paid.
But
if you play on Saturday and Sunday.
But the caddy still has to get paid, and you still got to pay the entry fees. But
way more money in that though, too, right? You're talking millions and millions of dollars.
This is a duck and goose calling contest hobby,
right?
You're not going to change the game to make this a career living. There's no NIL deals in novice duck calling and goose calling.
I don't even know what that is.
I think we could name, image, and likeness. I think we could get that started though.
But my point is,
if contest
organizers had arranged, or they went out and they had a great sponsorship gathering, and they did, for simple math, they got 50 grand worth of payouts, across 9 contests. Instead of pigeonholing yourself and saying, all right, we're gonna do 700 or 7,500 to first and 1,500 to second, just like the example that we used before. I mean, what if we did, all right, the prize pool for this one is 20 grand, and X number of dollars is, X percent is going to go to first, second, third, all the way down to 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be, that way most contests, I would say, cut short of 10, right? So, but you're still picking out the top 10 or whatever. Like, okay, hey, you make the second round, depending upon how many callers, you make the top 15, this is what we're going to pay to the top 15 or the top 10 or the top whatever, you know what I'm saying? Whereas instead of just saying, all right, we're going to pay a bunch of money, we got $10,000 for one contest, but 75% of it's going to go to the winner. That's not really going to motivate people to come out to that contest. I think Cory's onto something with saying,
I think
65.
I mean, I'll tell you another example was the year Antonio won the Worlds. I remember Trey Crawford called me and he said, hey, how much was the entry fee be if a meat contest paid 10 grand? And I was like, I don't know, $100. He's like, Cabela's is going to have one. It was the Cabela's weekend, Mike. And they made a big deal about it to where the rule was you had to pre-register before the contest, right? So me, Brett Crow, and I think there was only like 13 other people. I think they only had 15 entries that pre-registered for this contest. Well, it bit them in the ass because they realized they're like, wait a minute.
And it was on a Friday.
We only have 15 entries for a $10,000 contest. And so they opened it up. And at that time, this was still, I mean, during the peak of meat calling, I mean, Kent blew in it. He came and showed up or whatever. And there was 4 DU judges and Roy Carter. And that was the judging panel. And I think it was held in the mule deer room.
Yep.
And I want to say there was 23 callers for a $10,000 meat contest. 23. Antonio won, Crow took second, and I took third. And there was 23 of us for 10 grand.
Yeah. What'd you get?
To be honest with you, I don't even know. I can't even remember that far back. But I mean, I know like Antonio.
It was super weighted up front because the Goose.
It was just one
way.
of those deals. It was
and
like
I took second.
They didn't fin it to where everyone got paid. At least something.
That was the contest that they brought up 15 people. Like, so the Goose, the first 2 rounds were inside in that mule deer room.
And then you went outside.
And then it was outside during like this big DU event. and
At the dinner
everybody's like
deal.
freaking out. But they brought back like 15 people for the third round. They must have had 25 or something in the Goose. They brought
Goose
back
always
15,
had more guys,
they
no
brought back
matter what.
15 people, and then they brought all 15 people up on stage, and they started at third place. I've talked
Oh,
about this in some
wow.
of those other episodes, and there, so everybody's standing up
Yeah.
there. Nobody has any idea, and they're like, "All right, in third place." Like I think they called Trevor, and it was like, "Fuck!" Now we're down to 2, and there's still 14 other people that this could be, all like really good callers. Second place, they called me, and I was like, "I'm just happy to hear my name get called."
Right.
And
Yeah,
I think,
that's
and
the
I
best
think
part
second,
about it.
I think second place might have been like $1,500 in
I think maybe
even
I
in
got
gift cards.
750. I think I got 750 maybe.
That was the
I
year.
think.
It was the year that Zinc released the Avian X honkers.
Mm.
Because I think I bought I think I must have had a couple $1,000 worth of gift cards to Cabela's. So I bought like 2 or 3 dozen of the new Avian X honkers. I bought like a smoker, a whole bunch of other shit, and they called Field for first
Yeah.
for 10,000, but that was cash, and that was just such a weird, and it was supposed to be like a meat goose. So like they got there and they're like, all right, does everybody know how this is going to go? This is a meat goose, and we're like, everybody's like, what is a meat goose? And they didn't, the people running it didn't even really know.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's make this an open goose. Like this is the routine that everybody practices. It either needs to be a live goose where there's no routine, or it needs to be an open goose where you have a routine. A meat goose where is just question marks, right? And yeah, and it was on a Friday. Like they just didn't organize that.
I
That was
mean,
for
well
10
as they
grand,
could've.
man. I mean, that's
Yeah,
another
you know.
thing. Like if these and I understand, man, I get it. This time of day, like this time of year, like it's hard to get the sponsors.
Mhm.
It is. Okay. It's hard to get the money. Like Bill busted his ass and he has a lot of money for his contest in Louisiana.
Mhm.
Like Nick, I mean, it was all cash. Like Nick at the contest in Nebraska last weekend, he handed you an envelope and it was all cash. There was no check. There was no like, we're going to mail you a check, in a week or two or whatever. It was straight cash. You have these contests, and I'm telling you guys, like, if I truly think it will help get more guys involved in contest calling, if you make a contest to where instead of it's all a lump sum at first,
Mhm.
pay down top 5 and then 6 through 8, or pay top 8 or whatever, and just go
Yeah.
down the ladder. That way the guys can see that. And once again, it's not about the money, but it is something that guys want. Their goal is to make the final round and to get their name called on that stage, whether they take 8th or 1st. That gets their mind more involved in competing the next contest, to where if it's only top 3, I mean, it's going to be the same top 3 every contest you go to.
So here's something I just thought of, and let me know. So like in dirt track racing, right? And the only reason I know this is because Wetstein has kind of told me about it. A lot of these race tracks pay the racers just to show up and race, right? So like, it isn't like, hey, I pay my entry fee, because I asked him that. I was like, well, what does it cost to get into a race? And he's like, well, they pay us to come to the race. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, they pay the drivers to come to the races. Like, I mean, because if we don't show up, how are they going to make money on ticket sales and all of that if there's nobody racing the cars there, right? Now, it isn't that I think that that an event needs to pay the callers to show up. It's kind of counterproductive.
Well, no
right?
one's going to go to just a contest. I mean, there's no crowd that's just going to go to a contest.
There needs to be like something more. I think that, and the tough thing is in some of these remote areas, sometimes it's hard to coordinate an event, right? Like there's the calling contest like in Iowa. It isn't always like the best time of year where they have like a state fair kind of thing. You can kind of lump it together. What I don't know is, do we think that there's access, like, Matt and Brady kind of alluded, like Ducks Unlimited, has always in contest calling kind of been a contributing player, like financially to contests, not just theirs, but kind of to a lot of different contests. There's a lot of other companies, like you look at Toyota, you look at Ford, you look at Chevy. Now, obviously, these are insane, some of the biggest companies in the world, right? But they're sponsoring sporting goods related events, right? They're sponsoring fishing tournaments. They're
Well,
sponsoring
they're
other stuff like
Toyota's Bass
they're
Elite. I mean,
well,
that's
right. I mean,
world known.
but it isn't like it is like in contest calling. Like if all like we'll say the ICA for an example. Say we oversee all contest calling. It isn't like we need to go to Toyota and be like, hey, can you guys donate $300,000 so we can run a contest circuit this summer? Like these companies, obviously they're willing to pay it out. How many?
Well, because they have the backbone.
But
They
I mean,
have like
but how many people are going to buy Toyota pickups because they sponsor? It's like, I mean, I look at maybe
What
that's
the
just.
fuck are you talking about here?
I think we need to look at bigger sponsors for contests.
The
Like, and
thing
that's the tough thing. Like, because didn't a vehicle company like partner with NWTF?
Okay, so
I don't know.
let's do a little bit of comparison here.
We're,
Right?
I mean, that's the problem, Mike. Like you're comparing. You brought up bass fishing.
I know
Bass
that's a
fishing
much
is
bigger
aired
market. That's a much bigger
on
market.
ESPN.
I know that. I'm scaling it
Sportsman's
down.
Channel.
I'm scaling this down too,
Like
right?
this is a hobby.
That's what I'm saying. We're not
that
asking
is
for hundreds of
judged by
thousands
an
of dollars.
This is a hobby that's judged by an ear.
What do you all right, so just put your business owner hat on when you're talking when you're thinking about this, Mike.
Well,
So,
I know that's not. I know it's not a functioning thing when it comes to contest calling and running a business.
as a sponsor, when you're sponsoring an event, what are you paying for? You're paying for eyeballs.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah, that's all
You
you're
got to get people to come in to see your shit, whether they
That's
buy it
all
or
you're
not.
doing.
They still see it.
And if you have a bonus opportunity in order to get in front of your customer and sell them a product direct, then that's good. That's
You're winning.
yeah. But like then you can directly correlate your sales to that specific event. But as
sure.
a sponsor, there's no direct correlation with any type of event, even if they buy a $500,000 30-second spot on a Super Bowl commercial.
It's true. Yep.
You know what I mean? But for sponsors to be able to kick out that type of money, you got to have the 40 million people who watch the fucking Super Bowl,
Sure.
right?
I get it. Makes sense.
Contest calling had 50 to 100 people watching the Montana contest last week because of a farmer's market and a kids
That's
event.
why they had a festival blended in with the calling contest. The attendance is going to be complete shit if it's just a calling contest. The only people that are going to be there is your mom, dad, wife, girlfriend, maybe your brother and sister, and your grandparents. That's it. To attract people, like what Matt and Brady said, is like, oh, we had a great attendance. Of course you did, because you had it to where people had to walk past their contest to go to what they were doing. So when they heard people on stage blowing duck and goose calls, people are going to stop. People stopped at your show, Mike, walking out of the parking lot because they hear that. They're just like, what is going on? Then they walk in and sit and they participate and they watch it. They have no effing clue what's going on. To have a contest and that people want the viewers, the spectators to sit and watch, you can't just say, hey, come to my contest. We're just going to have these 3 contests in one day and that's it. Like Nick's contest, they had it blended in with the town Old Settlers Day. They had a beer garden. They had a car show. They had vendors outside. They had everything, and they had kids deals. So families brought their kids. They shot pellet guns. They threw axes. They had food trucks. They had everything. They had a beer truck. So that gets people in.
Let me ask you
one thing, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, this is going to be a shock, but if you want people to come and watch the duck and goose calling contest, offer beer.
Right.
Amen.
Offer beer. People will
let me
come
ask
and
you-
drink that hunt and watch guys blow a duck and goose call.
I'll ask you both this. So outside of contest calling, I would say that I'm going to ask you, something about what are you passionate about? You know what I mean? Like name another passion that you have outside of duck and goose calling.
Turkey hunting.
Okay. So that's an activity, right? Like something you can sit down and watch.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So how many hours on end can you watch turkey hunting?
Oh, every day.
Every day, but
100%.
consecutive hours. Can you watch turkey hunting for 8.5 straight hours?
No, but you can't watch the men's world for 8.5 hours sitting
That's
outside
my
watching
point.
it unless you don't
Sure.
have a family member or a spouse
That's a good
competing in
point.
it.
That's a good
Human
point.
beings' attention span does not last 8.5 hours.
No.
I don't care what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, unless you have
Like
performance.
you look at that
enhancing drugs.
contest, you look at that contest in Montana, and yeah, like I listened to that podcast and I heard, mixed reviews or whatever. The rodeo announcing of the callers, do I think it's cool? Yes. Should they do it every caller of the first round? No. Do it all first round. Let them all come up, give them an intro, then they go back, and then they draw a number. The scoring, I'm all for it. I've been all for the scoring forever. Show them where they're at. Let people get in their minds and say, okay, I'm this place. I need to do that or whatever. Like, let that be known. Like, just have the contest. Every contest, in my opinion, should show the scores to the contestants every round of the bullpen. That's how I think. Like, I think that would be cool as shit for every caller because you're not going to change anything. I mean, people talk about like, oh yeah, you could do this note or do that. No, that's BS. Your routine's the same every round you go to.
And
There's a few callers that can adapt, but it's all going to be the same. They're not going to be like, holy shit. Yeah, they're not going to be like, holy shit, I'm down by 4. I'm going to do this now.
And
you're not.
And are you going to change? Are you going to make enough of a change in your routine
to make that big of a gap?
to
No.
bridge the gap? If you're down by 5, say you're down by 6 points going into the third round and you're in 4th place, what are you going to do to your routine to gain you like 2 points per judge?
Nothing.
I
have to tell you this.
You're just going to have to.
You're already 6 points down for a reason.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
No,
that's just how it is.
No, and I mean I've never really thought about a lot of this, right? It's been stuff that's been talked about, but I'm so used to things being the way they are. Now, if you start posting scores, then do you think that there needs to be a judge's tent? Do we need to have the judges concealed, whether we're announcing them or not? If we're gonna post their scores,
the duck and goose call, and people bring up like how Matt and Brady brought up all these other competitions that get judged with an eye. Those contests need to be judged by an eye. Okay. Gymnastics, judged by eyes.
Yep.
The knife making, judged by eyes.
Archery,
judged by an eye.
Diving.
Diving. Anything else of that matter. This sport hobby is judged by the human ear, not by the eye. No one gives a shit if you're doing 2 cartwheels while blowing hail calls. As long as that hail call sounds fine, you're getting judged by the hail, not by what you look like on stage. It can be a tent or untent. It don't matter about that because it's all judged by this. The bias, now I could get into that, but I'm not going to at this time. But like, I feel they're trying to change the contest world for the better, but they got a lot. I mean, it's going to take a lot. And for having a contest in Montana, that's going to be a lot of work to attract more and more callers, but they're still going to continue to have it during their farmers market thing. I guarantee it.
And I think that's smart.
Which is fine. Yeah, because you look at Game Fair. Game Fair has an attendance because there's 1,000 booths and people are walking up and down Waterfowler's Hill and they're going from there. They have a great attendance. Montana will have a great attendance. Easton Waterfowl Festival will have always a great attendance because it's held during those 3 or 4 days that town closes for the festival. Stuttgart, it's a festival. Okay. All these other contests that are being held just for the contest will not attract spectators to come to watch because there's nothing for them. You offer this.
And Rogers was kind of an anomaly because
Rogers
they're
had
running
the show.
They
had the
event.
vendors. They had the vendors outside.
Yeah, Rogers had their own show.
They had their food trucks. They had Jeff Watts cooking barbecue.
The good thing about that Rogers had
for the callers.
The thing that Rogers had going for him is that they were doing. Rogers does such big numbers in sales with a lot of these companies.
Rogers is world known. They're going to come for the show.
Federal Ammunition, Final Approach, Waterfall, Sitka, all these companies. It's easy for them to be like, hey, we're doing millions of dollars worth of sales. Will you guys sponsor this contest individually that we're having? Instead of Rogers being like, hey, we're going to fork over all this out of our own pocket. A lot of them, I think some of them, there's, the year that I won, it was sponsored by Final Approach. The meat duck
Yeah.
might be sponsored by Sitka gear.
Yeah.
Another one might be sponsored by something else. And that's the tough thing with a lot of these contests and your huge payouts is a lot of times, like Kelly Presley, you're relying on Kelly Presley to put up money out of their
Kelly
pocket.
does a shit ton of work
Yeah.
to provide for the callers and the contest and the sponsorships, the donations mainly.
Yep.
I would like to see what his contest would hold if he had it his first weekend of sales, because his show is like 2 weekends long.
Mm-hmm.
So his first weekend,
it used to be this, and his
it's always
contests were
like-
the same. Used to be the same weekend as Rogers, the first
correct.
Saturday,
That's why
Sunday.
everything got deboggled and they split up and this, that, and the other. And obviously this year being the first weekend as Memphis and the DU deal, I mean, it's going to be tough for that. But like to have the contest during your first part of your sale brings more spectators in, brings more guys to come in to buy stuff, gives them reasons to come in, and then they hear the duck calling and they sit. You have your food trucks, you have a beer truck or beer garden or whatever, and it brings them in. You have to have something to get their eye to come before they go watch that contest.
Well, and the whole beer aspect
And then
was
you've
kind
got
of
to
one
have
thing
something
that
to keep them there.
Burlington always had.
Burlington,
a good
you had the
turnout.
casino down the hallway. You had a beer tent. You got a beer cart every 40 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were doing raffles every hour. They had the vendors all down the hallway. You're in a hotel, the casino, the water park. Burlington, still to this day, I mean, as far as numbers, there is not a contest, with the exception of the Worlds, both Easton and Stuttgart, that had more people than Burlington, Iowa.
There was a lot.
It was a shit ton.
And that was kind of surprising that when they shut that event down, because it was like,
Well, they
God,
just
you guys
used it as COVID, too.
had, well, yeah, I mean that certainly didn't help, but it was like you guys always had such a good turnout. Like
It
that
was
place
unbelievable.
it was
you couldn't walk through it.
You couldn't hear the callers
No,
because it
Look
was
at
so loud.
Look at your successful contests today. I mean, take them outside of the world. So you've got the Montana contest doing stuff during their own little show. They've got Great Salt Lake does it during the Great Big
Mhm.
Rocky Mountain.
no, that's another one. Yeah, my bad. Yeah,
I mean,
those guys have that one too.
you've got all of these contests that you've got a few contests that are hosted during other events, but the whole point is you're giving people who come to watch this contest, maybe they come to the contest, they watch it for an hour, they watch a round or two. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And then they're like, all right, what else is there to do? They show up to a contest and it's just a contest and there's nothing else going on.
Right.
Bye.
Yeah.
I mean, the 737 one that I went to the last weekend of May, or the whatever it was, the middle of May, at their store, their call shop. That place is unbelievable. I mean, it's a full-on bar. They have like 6 big flat screens. They have
Like the R&T
shuffleboard.
shop or the R&T.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, just same style setup, but it's a lot more bigger. I mean, they offer every type of alcohol you can think of. But they had like a crawfish food truck. They served plates of crawfish. They had the vendors. They had music going. They had their bar open. They had the TVs inside playing. And I mean, people were there. And I mean, granted, it was the weekends of high school graduations, graduation parties. And so, I mean, the attendance was down compared to last year, and they're going to move it, later on in the summer to eliminate all that issues. But it's in the middle of nothing in Oklahoma. I mean, nothing in that area in Oklahoma. And there are people out the ass that go to that show and the contest to eat and drink. They have a beer garden outside. You can drink in their bar. The place is unbelievable. But that's another one that attracts the spectators to come and stay because they play music in between contests. They have the beer, they have the food, they have the indoor, they have the TVs, they have the outdoor games. It's just everything that they can interact and keep attention to them instead of saying, well, my boyfriend's done calling, now it's time to go home, because there's nothing for them to do.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to that for sure.
Will it help the contestants more compete? That it's on their own hands there. I feel like you can get more callers involved and to continue to compete if the payouts get spread top 6, top 8, top 10 if you can. I know a lot of contests don't have 10 callers now, unfortunately, but as far as the spectator goes, that's what people need to do. I mean,
Well,
I know.
I mean, I think that the contest callers, we talked last week about trying to attract more contest callers, and I don't necessarily think that the answer is to pay out a pile of money because let's
No.
face it, it's a musical instrument, I mean, it's a reed instrument that we're all trying to compete against each other with. Now, are we passionate about it? Sure. But I think I can't remember who I had this conversation with, but someone brought up the point where it was, let's take a look. You've got YouTube and social media going on right now versus when contest calling was really getting going. You know what I mean? Early
Mhm.
2000s, late 90s. You look at what was going on in the early 2000s and late 90s. There was no social media, right? I'm not saying social media killed it. I'm saying the contest calling didn't really adapt with the times moving forward. Look at how you consumed your content back then. If you took YouTube today and you put it back in the 90s and the 2000s, who were your top YouTube channels then? It would have been Jeff Foyles, Fred Zink. It would have
Oh,
been
sure.
Tim Grounds. It would have been the Duckman. It would have
It would have
been,
been Phil. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, Warren Coco would have been up there. I mean, Will
that's what I'm saying.
Primos
It's
would have
like
been up there. I mean,
the guys who were promoting contest calling back in the 90s were the ones putting out the DVDs, and we don't have that today at all.
but it also, I mean, the whole social media thing, and we've talked about this forever, and on here, in person, or whatever. But like, it has, to me, ruined the competitiveness and the drive for callers now because they can see what's winning by watching it on their phones. They see the Robbie Iversons, they see the Seth Fields, they see the Trevor Shanahans, and they're just like, I can't do that shit. So why
Yeah.
would I go spend $50 when one of them three are going to be there, whether it's a duck or a goose, and be like, I'm not going to win. So why would I go?
Right.
They just don't have the drive. The competitiveness in their mindset is non-existent.
Is it competitiveness or is it motivation?
Mhm.
It's probably 60-40 motivation.
Yeah. I mean, if
I
you
would probably
know,
say, I mean, you're right. I would probably say the motivation part, yes, because they can literally sit down here for hours and just type in people's names and listen to their routines. And I mean, yeah, a lot of people, these contests now are copying a lot of people's shit on these contests.
Yeah.
Is it working? No. At times, yes. But for the others that are good, that don't want to waste the money, I feel like it's more motivation since you said that, but it still has a lot to do with the drive and the competitiveness. Like, I'm extremely competitive, like I said earlier, but like,
I
this is all
think,
I've done since, 26 years, 27 years of it.
well, I think
But
there's something to be said with like, okay, you're uber competitive, and a lot of us all are uber competitive. We love to win, hate to
correct.
lose, right? And that's kind of a rarity these days.
But I feel, since you said that, but I feel like back then when we went to contests, like my dad would force us to practice. We would go to Keller's and practice and to like beat our asses practicing for hours in the basement because there was nothing that we could see that would win contests. We would have to go to
Right.
listen. And like dad would take the tape recorders and like record it or
Uh-oh.
He was on a roll too.
Yeah.
He was killing it. I don't know. I mean, just so we don't have too much dead air while waiting for Cory to come back. I think that there's a lack of motivation to get into contest calling now with the availability to be able to come insta famous on.
competitiveness. Our competitiveness was that way. Like you'd go get your ass beat and then you'd come back and be like,
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
done.
We missed the last 20 seconds of what you said.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
really?
were hot.
My
You were
bad.
That's
on
all
a
right.
roll.
Yeah.
It was just the whole, I mean, like from us starting back then till the guys getting into it now. Like back then we had no idea what was winning. We just practice and go.
The
And
only
then
way
that's
you
what
knew if
Dad
you were
did.
doing
He
the
took
right
us everywhere.
practice was to
Now
go
everyone
compete.
can see what's winning. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
Now,
aggravating.
all right. Where are we at, Mike? What's next?
Did you talk to Calcutta already?
No, have not talked that at all.
Let's do that and then we'll wrap it up.
Corey, you got any other final thoughts on this Montana contest before we transition here?
Like I said, dude, I think they got the right mindset. I just think it's going to be a lot of work to reinvent the wheel of this duck and goose calling world. The rodeo announcements, I agree with.
I applaud their effort.
I agree with. Oh yeah, I mean, for them to
They
have a
definitely-
contest in Montana, to have guys
definitely had
that
some
come
good
from
stuff.
all over, 100%. There's nothing negative about it. I wish a lot of contests would do the scoring like they did. The announcements, it's that's cool, but the scoring, I'm all for. I wish they would do the scoring everywhere, in my opinion.
Yep, that's been talked about for a long time.
Yeah, is it? They just finally said, "Screw it, we're going to do it."
It's just been against. Yeah, it's just been against the norm, right?
Yeah, obviously the sanctions and the regional. I mean, the regional shit you can't do, but
Right.
everything else, yeah, I think it'd be fun to do and give it a whirl. But yeah, props to them for doing it, and I'm gonna try to go out next year and see the area and
Same.
go
Yeah,
from there.
I want to go, but I just want to go to Montana. I've never been.
I wish they had it during turkey season. That'd be even better.
But yeah, so you want to talk about this Calcutta deal and then wrap it up?
Yes. So registration has closed for the online open live goose contest.
Correct. We
So
have 11 callers.
11 callers, okay? And Teddy, you're going to talk more because you are a lot better at explaining all of this. This is the first time that we're running a Calcutta where you can bet on one of these 11 callers. Now, can you just bet on one, or you can bet on as many people as you want?
You can bet on as many people as you want. You can bet as many times as you want.
So it's wide open betting. If you have your buddy that you think is going to win this contest, you can put as much money on them winning as you so shall please, correct?
Yes. Yep. In
Yep.
$10 increments.
In
So
$10
dollars
increments.
is one bet,
Yep.
right? And what we're going to do is when Matt posts this up on the Facebooks and shit like that, the callers owe us $20 a piece. And I'm sorry, there's 10 callers because I just realized there's multiple people signing up at multiple times. But the callers are going to pay $20 as an entry fee. $10 for the entry fee, $10 for the Calcutta. All the callers must participate in the Calcutta, so we guarantee to have a winner, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then for anybody who is not competing, anybody who is listening, they can compete in the Calcutta by sending Mike the $10 via Venmo, one at a time, with the $10, and then in the note is the name that you want to bet on, or the name that you are picking to win. So we're only picking the winner. Once we've collected all of this, then we'll have odds, and basically we'll say, all right, if this person wins, this is how many bets are on it. We'll add up the total pot and the total pool. So give or take, let's say for simple math, it's going to be we have 10 callers. We're going to get 30 additional bets at $10 bets. So that means there's going to be $400 in the pot, and they're spread out evenly or spread out unevenly. If, for say, Austin Sheelander wins, and there's only 5 people that bet that Austin would win, then those 5 people would take the Calcutta pot and split it evenly with those bets. So if somebody wanted to bet on Austin and they wanted to put 3 chances on Austin, then they would get paid out 3 times. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Are you following me?
Yeah, that was one part that I was confused on, is if they put, so say you have 3 different people that bet on him, but one guy puts 10 bets on him. He's putting $100 on him.
Yeah.
He gets paid out 10 times.
He gets paid out 10 times.
Okay.
Yeah, because you pay out per unit value. So
Okay.
if
Okay.
the unit you're putting on there is 1 unit, and 1 unit equals $10, right? So if you have 1 unit on Austin winning and Austin wins, then you get paid one portion of that pot. If somebody has multiple units, then they get paid. If they have 10 units on Austin, they get paid out 10 times.
Okay.
Right?
Mike's
And
not a
Austin-
big gambler in this conversation.
apparently not.
No.
Apparently not. That's why this is a test. We're
Yeah,
testing it on
This
the
is-
online.
check,
deal.
check, 1, 2.
This is why I have Teddy explain it.
Huh? Do what? Yeah.
If it was Fortnite, Mike would understand it. Mike
I
and Matt
would
both.
know more of it. Yeah, I
Throw
know
up,
more.
Peter Pan. All right. So, anyways, I'm going to send Matt the list of callers for everyone to be able to put out and put odds on, right? And put
Mhm.
their bets on. Again, one bet, one unit of bet is $10.
Mhm.
And your list of callers is going to be Austin Sheelander, Tanner Frock, Josh Elchinski, Bo Matherly, Justin Blevins, Brock Young, David Damron, Dave Anderson, and John Walls.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so we've
Great,
got
bunch of great
now
callers
I've
in
got
there.
another caller that's going to enter. His name is Alex from Vinton, Iowa. But Alex, if you're listening, I have no idea who you are. So please send us your
I
Last
have no
last
idea
name.
who you are.
last name pretty quickly so then we can get it updated and change the odds on there. But yeah, so if anybody wants to bet on John Walls, it's $10, and then we're just going to add the pool up and divide it by the number of bets, and that's what we're going to pay out. This process is going to be, we're going to collect all the Calcutta money, and everything is due no later than the end of this month, June 30th. That's Monday, June 30th. So the callers have till June 30th to send Mike $20, and the Calcutta bets are going to be cut off on June 30th at $10 a piece. All right. At midnight that night.
Hmm.
Then the first round is going to be due. We'll probably have that due. Pulling up the calendar here.
July
You
1st.
do like the 6th? Is like
Yeah,
the is a Sunday?
we can do
Sunday after the
the
4th?
Yeah, we'll do the 6th. Yeah, Sunday after the 4th. So they got all 4th of July weekend, all this week or all next week because I keep forgetting we're not going to release this till Thursday. So yeah, till the 6th. Then the
They got a
call
week and a half.
first round and we'll run it pretty quickly. But
Hmm.
again, we're trying, this is kind of like beta testing this whole situation. So to repeat this one more time, callers, you owe us $20 by the 30th. All the Calcutta bets have to be in, $10 a pop. And like I said, hopefully it'll just help boost the pot a little bit and you can make some money on the back end.
Keep things interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
Corey, you
sounds
said you're not going to dive bomb? Or are you going
Yeah,
to
I'm going to that one.
You're going dive bomb. Are you
Yeah.
calling?
I don't know. Probably not. Probably just go hang out, sweat, walk around, Mike.
is it hot there?
So hot.
Is it hot there? I don't know, Mike. I mean, asphalt outside.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it
You're
is.
wrong.
Everything's outside.
Bear shit in the
Oh,
woods?
was it outside? I thought it was
No.
potentially in the warehouse.
I was told by a few people that have booths that are going to be
Oh.
there that is in the parking lot,
Well, whatever. It's at their new warehouse, their new headquarters.
which I'm pretty sure it's
That'll
the
be
old
cool.
Cabela's at the mall where the Blues used to practice. They used to have
Really?
a contest there back in the day that I competed in, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the address of the. I could be wrong, but that's what I was told over the weekend that the guys are going to be there. That it's outside. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Well, that'll be good.
bring your dude wipes and some cool rags.
That's right.
Some gold bond if anyone's got any extra gold bond.
Hopefully, we don't get a big storm.
Yeah,
Oh man, I forgot
So-
about that.
Yeah,
2 years ago
that was craziness. But
I was
All-
up there.
all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you being on here tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this week's episode. Make sure you're liking, following, subscribing the ICA, Mallard Marketing, and the Hail Call podcast on all of our social media outlets. Thank you, Teddy, Matt, and Cory for coming on this week. Thanks for everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Hail Call.